Welcome back. Today on Dialed In DIY, I'm going to walk you through an amazing cell phone stand build that I did using mostly repurposed, recycled, or leftover parts. What I really love about this build is how versatile it is. You can actually add just about any kind of a cell phone to it and adjust the height accordingly. In fact, lock it in place, and it works really well for a lot of different purposes. I originally built this for using a cell phone to record DIY projects. Great for single shots too. And here's a great user tip. If you go into your phone settings, you can actually set it up so that the volume control will snap a picture. This is great. You can plug in a set of earbuds with a volume control and use it to get close-ups as well as low-light shots or the occasional selfie. It just so happens it's also perfect for hands-free video calls. Because you can aim this at just about any direction you want to go, there's just about no limit to what you can do with it. In fact, if you set this up right in your build, you can switch between landscape and portrait. Get it locked at a comfortable position, and you can watch your YouTube videos and so much more at a comfortable eye distance and without your arms getting tired. As I walk through the build on this, I'm going to actually explain some ways you can change up, use some alternative build styles or materials. It doesn't have to be just this one single way. In fact, I broke this video down into two parts right now. We're going to start with how we built the phone holder, and then we're going to go on to the adjustable stand. I originally came up with the design for this phone holder so that it could be mounted onto PVC. In fact, there's a lot of different ways you can mount this, so this is the pivotal part of the build. I will explain each of these parts that you see here as we go through the build, but I do want you to know that if you look in the description below, you can actually get a free download of a PDF version of the entire part list with measurements. I'm using some 3/4 inch PVC that's about 3 to 3.5 inches long each, and I'm actually cutting a big notch out of this that's wide enough to fit my phone. You want to make your notch just a little bit bigger than your phone itself. Once you've got that, you're going to make a couple of holes in the bottom, evenly spaced. This is going to be used to mount it to this piece of wood that's going to be part of our main mounting bracket. In this build, you need a total of 4 pieces of 4-inch aluminum or another material with the exact same bends in it that look like this that we're going to form into a T. I actually made those bends using a vise. Made one at the first inch in, then at the next inch in, which left 2 inches off the other long end. In order to make sure your phone fits well into the piece of PVC, you're going to get a couple of machine screws that have low profile heads on them. Then, you want to transfer the holes and drill them through your piece of wood so it matches perfectly, and then set the screws through it. I actually put a couple of 1/2-inch rubber washers between the PVC and the piece of wood just to give us a little bit of a spacer. On the other side, I added some split washers and nuts to lock everything down and keep it in place. You'll note that the only place I used wood screws in this build is on the ends of these T-brackets. It's actually optional, you don't have to do it because the bottom nuts will hold it in place as it is, but I like the clean finish look on this. We're about to prepare our next piece of PVC, and I did use a Dremel tool to cut out my notch, but you could just as easily use a hacksaw to make a similar cut. The difference on this piece of PVC is you're not going to put the holes directly on the bottom, you're going to actually put them offset to the side so that it can mount just like you see it in the picture here. In order to mount these in a way that's adjustable, we need a couple pieces of wood that are about 2.5 inches by 4 inches, and we're going to use that to make some back pieces with. For both pieces of wood, you're going to need to mark out and cut out a notch right down the middle that's about 1/8 of an inch wide, running about 2/3 of the total length, maybe just under that. I used a Dremel tool and then used a grinder to make it even once I was done. Drill out your mounting holes, and we're ready to move on to the next step. To fasten the second piece of PVC, grab the wood with the 2 holes in it, add a couple of small screws with a locking washer through the wood part, then on the other side add another locking washer and a nut. These help to create a space that means there's just enough screw to fit inside that PVC that I can put another nut on there, but it will not prevent the phone from sliding down into the PVC. For connecting these pieces, you're going to take a longer machine screw with a washer on it and put it through the wood. Then you're going to add a washer, a rubber washer, and another washer, kind of in a sandwich format, then the other piece of wood. Then add another washer, rubber washer, washer, and finally a wing nut. The rubber washers are great because when you lock down the wing nuts and other things, it actually gives some resistance pushing back, which keeps the parts from sliding back apart again. Now you want to grab that T-bracket again and put a screw with a washer on it through there, and then another one of your rubber washer sandwiches. Last, add the mounting bracket assembly on place, put another washer in place, and a final wing nut. This bracket can now adjust in 2 different directions, a little further open and closed, and left and right. You're going to secure the phone into the stand between the 2 pieces of PVC, then use the wing nut on the back to loosen this and open and close it, then tighten it back down. You always want to make sure you position your camera facing out past the bracket itself so that it's not obscured. You've now just finished the key part of the build, which is the mounting bracket that's fully adjustable. You can add this to any kind of a stand that you want. I am actually going to make an articulated or adjustable arm stand using the pieces you see here. Again, in the description below you can find a link to a complete part list with pictures. For this part of my build, I'm repeating that first T-bracket that we did in the first part, except instead of one hole in the face of it, I'm putting two separated across the sides. This is because I'm repurposing a base from another device that was used before. I don't know what was connected to it before, but it has this handy little mounting bracket that had two holes in it. So I matched up those holes, put a screw through them, put the rubber washers on there, put the wood piece in place, and then put the wing nuts on the back. I can then add this T-bracket to the base assembly, and I've got a great place to connect the arms to. I prepared 4 pieces of aluminum, 6.5 inches long, the exact same way to use to make these arms. Go ahead and fasten it using the approach seen in the picture here. You'll note I actually used coins instead of washers so that I could increase the friction, which helps to hold the arms better in place once it's fighting against gravity. Notice the first 2 pieces of arms went into the T-bracket right in between the 2 parts of the T-bracket. But now we're going to take the next 2 sections of the arms and interlace them with the first 2 pieces of arms. You'll note this time we're not putting any washers between the pieces of the arms themselves. Once you get these all locked into place, experiment with the articulation a little bit, which just means open and close it and make sure it moves the way you want it to before you put this final piece back on. To connect the phone assembly to the arms, we're going to repeat the same process we did to put the T-bracket on the base. Do note that I used a lot of metal in this build. This does add a lot of weight to it, but it gives it the look I wanted. If you want to go a little bit lighter weight and make it easier for the adjustments to hold, you can actually switch up to wood or plastics. But once it's built, check it out. You can twist, turn, bend, prod, pull, poke, do whatever you want, but you can get your phone camera to aim exactly where you want it. Remember, if you want more specific information about the parts and quantities of items used in this build, check out the description below. It will include free downloadable versions of the images you see here. Thank you for watching. Please press like and then subscribe. There will be more Dialed In DIY to come.